Now to a very unique story where one Brooklyn nonprofit is actually allowing the young people to have a direct say on how grant money is used within their community. We want you to meet the people from the Brooklyn Community Foundation, specifically CEO Dr. Jocelynne Rainey and Youth Advisory Council member Daniel-José Cyan. Dr. Rainey and Daniel-José, good morning to both of you. Thank you so much for being with us. We'll start with you, Dr. Rainey. For those who may be unfamiliar with the Brooklyn Community Foundation, just tell us about the organization.
So I am so excited to be talking about the Brooklyn Community Foundation. I am a lifelong Brooklynite, and this is a foundation that's very near to my near and dear to my heart. The foundation is focused on equity, racial equity in particular. It funds nonprofits that are located in Brooklyn, doing the work in Brooklyn. We were founded in 2009, so close to 12 years of serving this community. We have over 100 million in assets, which means that, we are a fundraising entity. So our donors and our board are real believers in the importance of doing this work in Brooklyn. I'm particularly proud of the fact that we have moved to completely participatory grant making. That means that people in the community that are impacted by the work are the ones that are making the decisions on where the money should go.
So you have 10 million in funds to be dispersed, through the participatory grant making. We are talking about monies distributed, if you will, to the youth organizations. Is it one particular, or is it spread out across several initiatives involving young people?
It's spread out across several initiatives involving young people. There are several issue areas that impact young people, right? So we think about things like organizing and making sure that young people have what they need there, LGBTQ youth, young people who are impacted by the criminal justice system, workforce development. So it's spread out across all the issue areas for young people. So what happens is that we have an application process for the youth advisors. So the advisory committee, there's an application process, a public application process, where the youth advisors apply to be a youth advisor. We, of course, have a cohort of youth advisors that then review the applications that come in through also a public RFP, right? So folks know that we are saying, like, this is what we want to do this year, and then they apply publicly, and then my program team, they sort through to make sure that they're within our budget thresholds, that they are aligned with our mission. And then those applications are forwarded to the advisory committee that works on making the decision on where we should allocate these monies. And what we're really proud of is that we believe in giving multi-year grants. So we don't just fund them for 1 year, we fund them for 3 years. So we're really proud of that work. And, our advisors like Daniel make that decision on where those funds should go.
So let's bring in Daniel. Daniel, you are on the Youth Advisory Council. So walk us through the process, like the process of researching these applications come in, and then what's your role?
The applications will come in, we'll get the proposal, and then we do interviews with these. So we'll do site visits, right? It's been virtual because of the pandemic, of course,
Right.
but we'll talk to the people who are involved in the organization. One of the organizations I know that I did a site visit for had a youth member come in, which was really impactful for me to see one of the youth members, one of the participants be involved in the site visit as well.
So you're more or less part of a vetting committee, correct?
Essentially, yeah. And then we will, after that, review and send in our thoughts. So we'll grade it, essentially, grade the different organizations, and then the group will create a decision.
What are some of the things you look for?
For me, one, it's extremely important, and I think this is something that the foundation will agree on, the type of people who are involved, right? So the diversity of the people who are involved in the organization, making sure that people of color are the center. And for me, what's even more important is how youth are involved, right? Because it's one thing having an organization say that they're for the youth. It's another thing having them actually involve the youth in the work that they're making and centering the youth. And I think as both a youth worker and somebody who has been a youth, you can see the difference in the way the organizations run and how much importance they put on the needs of the youth.
So from your perspective, what are some of the pressing issues that Dr. Rainey just mentioned that are facing the youth here in New York City?
And one of the biggest issues is housing. I mean, look at the way that New York City is changing, especially with gentrification. Homelessness is another one of those things, right? I work a lot with the LGBT community, and homelessness is one of the most important issues that are facing the community. Oftentimes people are relocated because of whether it be changes in the community or because of maybe their identities that their parents don't accept them, and then they're kicked out of their houses. So I've seen housing as a general be a really big issue.
Dr. Rainey, there's so many organizations trying to address so many things, and this streamlined process, the vetting committee, if you will, that the council does, how tough is it to make decisions where you've got organization A applying, organization B? You can't accept everybody. So just talk us through, I guess you have to make some tough decisions.
I think the interesting thing about the foundation is that, we have a lot of different pipelines to funding, right? We have this amazing participatory grant making process, and it's across all of our funding areas. So we fund elder rights. We have a participatory grant making advisory council for elder rights. We have a portfolio on Invest in Youth, as Daniel is working on. We also have an immigrants' rights portfolio as well. And all of these things, they intersect in a lot of ways. And I really like that Daniel talked about, housing instability, which is huge in New York City, right? And any instability leads to instability across everything that you do. So we do one thing, we are very centered on racial justice, right? Understanding the impacts that systemic racism has had in our city across the board. So we're focused on that. We also try to think about, if we can't support you as a grantee, we do have capacity building support as well, where we will work with a nonprofit to help them to build up their capacity so that they can work with other funders and partner with other funders as well. We also have an amazing Spark Prize process where we give over 100,000 to 5 nonprofits, and we also give to another 20 nonprofits who have participated in that process, and that happens once a year as well. So the wonderful thing is that we have amazing people in Brooklyn who are committed. We are the only community foundation in Brooklyn. And so it makes it so that we can have pretty wide reach in what we do. And we try to kind of meet our grantees where they are and our donors where they are and figure out how we can impact them even if we're not able to get grants. So it's a hard decision, but I think that we've been able to really help to think through how we can support them with our donors, with our board, and in several different areas.
Our thanks to both of you, Dr. Rainey and Daniel-José, for being with us and the important work that you're doing. And we certainly wish you continued success as you're trying to impact positively the communities here in our great, great city. We thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Antwan.
All right, everybody, we'll be right back.